Hi, everyone. Today we're going to be talking about cybersecurity as a career. And the first thing that we're going to start off with is dispelling some myths about who can be in cybersecurity. There seems to be some kind of thing out there where cybersecurity is all about hacking, and perhaps you automatically think of a bad guy in your head, perhaps somebody coding in the basement with the light of the computer on their face all day, and that is definitely not the case at all. Cybersecurity really is for everyone, and a career in cybersecurity can be for you as well. Cybersecurity needs all kinds of people. Yes, there are some very technical things. So if you consider yourself a techie person, you enjoy coding, you enjoy putting networks together, cybersecurity is definitely for you. But if you are somebody who likes to help other people, somebody who feels like they are more of a caretaker, cybersecurity really is about people protecting other people from other people. It's very people focused. If you're a big thinker, if you like to innovate, to create, if you like details, if you like creativity, there is a place in cybersecurity for you. And this is a field that really does welcome anybody. A reason to take a look and really consider a career in cyber is also that it's a very high demand job. The impact of things like quantum computing and artificial intelligence especially is really changing the way that crime is committed. You may not know that ever since the COVID pandemic, cybercrime actually increased by about 600%. And that is because so many more of us are online. So companies need you to help keep them safe online. You may also not know that cybersecurity does have some very competitive salaries. So if you are motivated by the thought of having a job that will give you a lot of opportunity in the space of income, cybersecurity is one of those fields that can do that for you. Not only do entry-level jobs start at higher salary levels than other roles, but as you work yourself up and become more specialized, those salaries increase along with them. Now, I talked a little bit about maybe you just want to be a caregiver. Maybe you are somebody who really likes helping people. Cybersecurity in all aspects really does make a difference, whether that is in the way of helping companies stay safe. You may not realize that you're not only just helping the companies create profit, but that you are actually helping to protect the information of those people who use those companies' services. There's also fields like the one that I'm in, which is in education. So I spend a lot of my time talking to youth, talking to parents, and even talking to business owners about how to stay safe online from a more personal perspective. So you can actually be a digital hero. Next, we're going to talk about the cybersecurity career paths. And I don't want to get into that without talking a little bit about the education for cybersecurity, because cybersecurity is a really unique field in which there are many paths to a cybersecurity career, because there are many ways that you can get the skills that you need. For example, you can pursue a college diploma, a university degree. You can actually go and get masters or PhDs in topics that will position you for a great career in cybersecurity. However, if you don't see that as something for yourself, there are also shorter term boot camps, certifications, and self-learning and certifications that you can do on your own that'll give you the knowledge and skills. As long as you are willing to learn and committed to it, you can actually find many different paths to a cybersecurity career. Now, let's dive into some of the most well-known cybersecurity careers, as well as the ones that you might be looking at to start out. First, we have our security analyst. And your security analyst is really your perfect starting point. This is somebody who takes a look at the company's systems, who monitors the systems, and makes sure that there's nothing funny going on in the background, like there's no hackers, there's any malwares, and really making sure that the systems are safe. Next, we have your SOC analyst. And a little funny thing about cybersecurity is sometimes you will see people giving out SOCs at conferences and things like that. And that is a play on these SOC role. The SOC is the Security Operations Center, and that is where a lot of the real activity happens. So this is where systems are monitored, and you can see live whether attacks are coming into a particular organization, and then the SOC analysts can identify those, and depending on where you are within the SOC, you can escalate those to different levels depending on whether it's something that's an easy fix or something like a more serious breach like we see on the news. Then you have your risk analysts, and risk analysts is a non-technical role. So earlier I talked about how it's not all about being tech and being really good with coding and being great with computers. It is good to know those things, but something like a risk analyst requires a lot of attention to detail. It requires you to know about policies and different standards, but that role really is looking at the organization and how they run their security measures and really recommending ways to avoid them or even address some of the things that may come their way. Now, as with any job, once you've got your feet wet and once you start learning, you can definitely specialize in different directions. And those two are just way too many to list. But I have chosen 3 that are quite common and that I personally find really interesting. The first one is your ethical hacker. And this is really, if you are into hacking, if you are into breaking things, the ethical hacking one is a really great way to allow you to break into systems and see what you can do, find things like vulnerabilities, which are really holes in systems that allow for these hackers to get in, only that you are having permission to do that. So you can work for an organization, even government organizations as well, that will let you do that. So we like to call this the good guy hacker. You may also hear it called as a penetration tester or a white hat hacker. Next, you've got your cybersecurity architect, and this is really somebody that's looking at the entire landscape of cybersecurity and is really planning for the future. What is coming? What are some threats? What's new technology? And how can we implement those things in order to create a more safe environment, more safe networks, more safe systems, and really a more safe community and world? And last but not least, I have our Chief Information Security Officer. You'll see this referred to as CISO really anywhere. And think of this as the CEO of security. So this is a person who is the leader of all of the security teams and really makes the strategic decisions around what is happening to a company, what steps they should take, and they would call on all these other roles that we've spoken about for advice and for knowledge in order to make those decisions. So, as you can see, cybersecurity does have a lot of different skills required, a lot of different opportunities, and as long as we break those myths that we had at the beginning about what you actually need to get into cyber, you can find a career path that may be right for you. Lastly, we're going to take a look at how you can start preparing for a career in cybersecurity today, even if you're still in school, whether you're in grade 7 or 8 or in high school, there is always something you can do to start preparing today. So let's dive in. There are lots of small steps that you can take. all of you watching this probably have a laptop or a computer at home or a tablet or a phone or something that you're using, and you don't realize that you're already aware of many cybersecurity features, things like firewalls, things like you may have heard terms like phishing, about clicking on emails and you know not to do that. You have heard safety things around how to interact with people and how not to interact with people online. All those are things that fall under the realm of cybersecurity knowledge and skills. So you've already started without even knowing it. So let's take a look though at some very specific things that you can do to keep building those skills. Number one is learning networking basics. I mentioned earlier that you don't need to know all the technical stuff for every role, but it does help to have a general knowledge of how things work. And I know that for some of you, you probably are actually really interested in these things. The networks really talks about how the computers are speaking to one another. So when you think about your home and you think about your Wi-Fi networks, or if you have more than one device in the home that people are accessing, though it may be running through a network. So I have some ideas as I go through the slide as to how you can actually keep building on those skills for things that you already have. So one of them here is you could take a free online course that's always available, or actually play around with the settings within your own network at home. The next thing is basic coding skills. As I mentioned, some of you are probably really proficient in this already. Some of you may have tried it, and other of you have no idea. It's always good to have some basic knowledge of at least how coding works, or the different coding languages. And coding really talks to how we talk to computers and how we tell them to do different things. So here there's tons of information out there on coding, and there's a lot of activities. You may have even done some at your school, and you can build very simple programs. Like you can build your own calculator using very simple coding that you can actually do yourself. You can build things like small games, and like I said, even just knowing what the different languages are and what they are intended or used for can be a big win as you go on your journey. The next thing is knowing tools. So when we refer to tools, it's all the different things that you use in order to keep things safe. So things like firewalls, I use as an example, is one of the tools that you can use. The same thing like any antivirus software that is outside of your regular firewall, that would also qualify as a tool. So again, a quick Google search can actually lead you to what some of those different tools are, what it is that they do. You can take a look at your own antivirus software that you might have on your computers or your laptops. Take a look at the firewalls. Take a moment to read through some of the terms and conditions of those firewalls, because that will reveal a lot of information as to what's going on. And all this is knowledge. So all the grown-ups that you see out there working, they actually use what might seem like some basic knowledge on an everyday basis. So those were some of the technical skills that you may want to hone. Now let's take a look at some of what we call the softer skills, of those human skills that are really important in cybersecurity. Number one is problem solving. Cybersecurity, a lot of people will tell you, is a lot of puzzles. It's a lot of figuring things out. How does something work? Or how did something work? Thinking about how maybe people are thinking, a little bit strategic, a little bit of game of chess sometimes. Sometimes it's a little bit of a riddle, and sometimes it's more of a game of chess for sure. But a way to hone that skill is doing something fun, like doing brain games, doing puzzles. That actually does help build up your critical thinking. If your school or community has things like robotics clubs or coding clubs, go and join them. Follow up. There's capture the flags sometimes as well. Go and take a look at some real life problems and get your mind working. This actually is not just about solving one problem, it's actually teaching your mind to solve other future problems as well. The next thing is communication, and this I find is a very underrated skill. Communication does not come naturally to anybody. Those are things that we all learn. So take the time to actually practice communication, especially the ability to explain technical things in plain language or in ways that somebody who's non-technical would understand is very important. Take the opportunity to teach younger siblings, cousins, family members, even older ones. Teach them something about the way a computer works, an antivirus software works. Teach them about staying safe online, and that is helping your communication skills, as well as any of the clubs that you join at school where you need to work as part of a group, help you to build those communication skills that are so important in cybersecurity. The last thing is adaptability. I mentioned at the beginning of this video how changes in technology like artificial intelligence are really changing the scope of what people do in cybersecurity. And even though it might be a short time away, for some of you longer, by the time you join the workforce, there will be things out there that do not exist today. And as you join those jobs, those things will change again. So being adaptable, being curious, being willing to explore, and being willing to learn new things is super important. And adaptability is something that you can practice. So take on new challenges, put yourself in situations that are outside your comfort club, your comfort zone, like joining a club that you might not normally have joined, to build a new skill, to get your brain working, and to practice being adaptability, which you will definitely need as you hit the workforce. With these skills, you will be ready to join the world of cybersecurity. And one of the things that I would advise is take a look at job postings. Do a Google search, use things like Indeed, type in cybersecurity, take a look at roles and look at the skills that are needed to do those roles. And then work yourself backwards and say, how can I start learning some of those things? As I've mentioned, cybersecurity has so many different paths. There is so much information available on YouTube and through free platforms that it doesn't even take a big investment for you to actually make a big investment in your education and your future career in cybersecurity. Thank you for joining me.